Welcome back to Q13 News at 4. Recapping our top story tonight. The Occupy protest, known around the country as the CHOP, is dismantled by Seattle police crews who are now surveying the damage inside the East Precinct tonight. And that precinct was a flashpoint that ignited protests in the area, which eventually became the CHOP over the course of the last month.
And this is a live look at the edge of that zone in Capitol Hill tonight. But as we've heard, some big questions still remain. Are the demonstrations over?
And if not, what's to come for SPD's other facilities? Q13's Steve Kiggins is attempting to nail down that part of our coverage tonight. Steve?
Yeah, Jamie, SPD Chief Carmen Best says her department is already preparing to get operations up and running again outside of the East Precinct just as soon as possible. And no matter the dozens of arrests that happened this morning, the demonstrators we talked to told us that this movement doesn't require any physical location. Seattle police arrived early and in droves to take control of a small portion of Capitol Hill some protesters called CHOP.
Enough is enough.
For weeks, the surrounding streets had been de facto occupied, but city leaders and police insist the recent gun violence had overshadowed their messaging.
The mayor's order makes it clear that this area is off limits at this time.
Right now, and even before the George Floyd protests, we were at below or minimum safe staffing levels in each precinct.
The Seattle police officer union says is proposing programs to reinvent community policing down to each city's neighborhood. But since City Council has banned their use of some crowd control measures like tear gas and rubber bullets, future conflicts could be worse.
If we don't have that tool, then the only option to keep people back is our batons, our hands, and our service weapons.
Chief Best said the department has not heard about threats against other department facilities, but said staffing would be beefed up as needed. The West Precinct, inside Seattle's Denny Triangle neighborhood, isn't too far from Capitol Hill, but some demonstrators leaving CHOP this morning said it matters not where they protest, it's that their message needs to spread.
They just looked at me and told me that CHOP isn't here anymore because they thought they just walked through here. I want you guys to send this message and come out here and help me send this message to them that CHOP is not just one location, it's not one spot. It's the people, it's the heart of this movement.
So Chief Best told us also this morning that she supports Black Lives Matter, and she supports peaceful demonstrators. And she also said she's looking forward to engaging with those demonstrators and the public to re-envision exactly what policing can look like forward. Steve Kiggins, Q13 News.
All right, Steve, thank you. Back on Capitol Hill, neighbors and business owners who saw their community transform over the last several weeks are reacting to this morning's clear out.
I just got to tell you, it's wonderful to see the police here. It's wonderful to see this getting cleared out. And I just feel a lot better about the situation.
So the man we just heard from has lived and owned a business in Capitol Hill for years. He tells us he supports the protest. He just saw the area turn into something dangerous, he says.
I've been down here almost every day, and I've seen a lot of weird stuff, a lot of assault weapons, a lot of anger, a lot of drugs and drinking. So it hasn't been a very positive thing. I mean, the message was kind of lost weeks ago.
First, let me just start by
As we heard earlier, Police Chief Carmen Best said in a press conference this afternoon that a number of Capitol Hill residents thanked officers at the CHOP today for clearing it out.
We saw a lot today, and we heard a lot, too. And it's easy to become distracted by the daily discourse in our cities and our country. And while it's our job to document these things, it is also our responsibility to provide context and remind all of us how we got here. Now, you may have noticed these traffic cones that are protecting the new mural along East Pine. They were placed there by SDOT workers as crews cleared out and cleaned up pretty much everything around it. They wanted to protect the message, and sometimes that means taking a step back to see the bigger picture.
This is going to be really, really, loud, hopefully. Lives literally are at stake, and now you see it, and you can't ignore it.
At a crossroads of two pandemics.
There's a pandemic as well of Black lives being lost.
People are suffocating.
I can't breathe!
An injustice against one is an injustice against all.
And local artists are breathing new life into a changing landscape.
You're in it, and it's like you got all this space to do. You're on your hands and knees painting on concrete for 9-10 hours. The sun's beating on you.
I picked the B because black, brown, brilliance. It's for beginnings. It's just the beginning.
16 different visions covering one city block in just 24 hours.
I don't think everyone envisioned that we would all get it done within a day.
We knew what we were doing was important, but we didn't realize the response was going to be so intense.
In Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood,
We were just out there vibing. We're just having fun.
word on the street at the corner of 10th and East Pine spells out the reason why thousands have come to protest.
Seattle, we have a history of Black Panthers, we have farm workers, we have all these wonderful, beautiful, amazing organizations that stand up for human rights.
Each one of these letters is so personal. We all have our own little meaning for it. It's all varied, but on top of it all, it just makes this one big statement that we matter, like our children matter, you know, and it's time to listen.
Every color you can imagine.
It's got teal in it, it's got white, yellow, blue, purple, and green.
We took our mom's ashes and we put it into the chartreuse color. This is Mama.
With a purpose and without a doubt.
If she were still alive, she would have been all about Black Lives Matter and how Seattle's shown our love and support for our brothers and sisters.
The world watched as the paint dried.
And now those layers are finally being unpeeled, and it's really painful, but it's necessary.
We're not even calling it a mural as much as it's a monument around a statement that needs to be told, shared, amplified around the world right now.
An artistic revolution.
What does it mean in the world around you?
Weaving its way around a collective effort.
As creatives, it is 100% our responsibility to document what's happening right now, because if we do not document it, history will say it didn't happen.
The foresight to see 2020 in hindsight.
So the future, which is the youth, can look and say 2020 was really a year of transition.
It was a moment. It was a moment.
At the crossroads of two pandemics.
Because we're dying, now it's like, guys, wake up, come on. Like this is a pandemic in itself.
Maybe distance is the cure for both.
Really, this is a moment to have like everything change and start fresh.
If only we'd take a step back.
You just never think that people will respond like this based on the color of someone's skin.
We'd be able to see the bigger picture.
But that's the part of America that just needs to change.
So the artists tell me that they are working out plans with city leaders to try to maintain this monument and do the touch-ups as necessary, but they really just want this to be the lasting impact and the imprint on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that this artwork really stays preserved. I mean, let's fast forward 10 years from now. This artwork is going to tell the story of what happened here. It's beautiful to look at. So yeah, let's hope so there.